Happy with the win. Anytime you can start out 3-0 in the league and take care of business at home, it's a good thing. Obviously, I'm awfully happy about it. We just made one more play and got a big win at the end. Sam Houston's a tough team. They're gritty. It's never easy playing them. I think we talked about that in here in the press conference after the La Tech game. We beat them by a total of 6 last year and tacked one more on there today. If I'm being honest, I was a little worried, and I told our team that when we got up to, I think it's 22-8 when they called timeout, and I was just a little concerned that we'd take our foot off the gas. We've played well for about the last 10 days, practiced well, didn't get the result we wanted, but played well at Houston, won, the margin against La Tech. Now all of a sudden you're up 14 early, and you can get this is going to be easier, we've got it figured out kind of mindset. And whether that happened or not, they'll have to look themselves in the mirror to answer that. But we made some what I characterize to them often as our soft plays on both ends, and you look up and it's tied at halftime, and you had played well to start the game. And so it was important that we stayed locked in, because at that point it's going to be a battle, and it was to the very, very end. I thought Sean, to play in that kind of game and how physical they are, to not turn it over. I think you end up with none, right?
Yes, sir.
No turnover. Yeah, you knew that one quick. No turnovers, and then obviously had the assist to Torrey last play of the game. So happy with the win. Questions?
Speaking of the last play of the game, what was kind of going through your mind in that moment? I mean, it was big pressure, but you came out on top, giving it to Torrey and then leading it to 2 points.
Really just never panic, in those situations, and make the right basketball play.
For you, Coach, it was a gritty fight, tied at halftime, coming out, battle the whole entire second half. But what was your constant message to them, especially in the huddles, especially in those timeout moments?
Just toughness. You're not going to, at that point, like what in any conference game, I mean, the other night was the other night. I mean, we did a lot right and shot them, incredibly well. Just understanding that this is a conference game. These are tight, they're hard, they're tough. Play execution's important. And then down the stretch, just understanding, like, we called our last time out with 2+ minutes to go in the game. So just making sure guys understood game situation, who's got the jump ball, getting the right lineup in there, even down to the end, being able to get the ball in bounds to the right guy. Torrey did a nice job on their guy with 2 seconds to go in the game to kind of force a little bit of an errant throw. Guy ends up going out of bounds. So really just staying locked in the moment. Like, we're not going to win by 15. That's just not going to happen now. And so at this point, we've got to win the game.
Can you expand upon that last 40 seconds? I can't imagine you were drawing this up thinking that Torrey was just going to be left alone under the
sure
rim.
We did.
But those last 40 seconds, because like you said, you had no timeouts. Obviously, that had to be communicated. But what are you trying to draw up there late?
Just one thing is make sure that it's play execution, but the other is rebounding. If we don't make the shot, don't just stand and watch. And we got a big offensive rebound, and that's when we called our last one. I think it was Chris that kept it alive, and Torrey ended up running it down. But we were talking about rebounding. We often talk about in the last 2 segments, you can't have turnovers and you can't get beat on the glass. And that's really the deal in close ball games, because you're going to end up winning the possession count if you have fewer turnovers and more rebounds. And when it's a close game with 7 or 8 to go, if you can win that down the stretch, you're going to give yourself a pretty good chance to win a game.
I want to ask you about the trust you have in these guys. Ja being one.
Yep.
Obviously hitting big shots for you, keeping the game afloat there early when things kind of got out of hand. The guy to your right didn't get in until the 12th-minute mark of the fourth, or in the second half, and then Kamari lands. You have a stretch there where you're down by 5, and I can just see you telling him to shoot the ball, and you kind of had like this light bulb moment where he hit 2 in a row.
Yep. And got the and one.
Right. And talk about the trust you have with those guys in those moments, because things weren't looking. They look gray in that area.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a player, you don't want to feel like you're the starting quarterback, that you're looking over your shoulder every time you make a pass and you throw an interception and feel like the backup quarterback's getting ready to come in and you're about to be yanked. Now you're just not willing to zip one into tight windows. And, that's the way I think as a basketball player. You can't go out there and play fearful. You can't just play reckless. But if you're a guy that can step up and make a shot, then shoot it. If you miss it, we got guys that can rebound the ball. And same thing with these two guys. These two playmakers. Go make a play. And we're trying to get downhill with about a minute to go, and just made the right basketball play. Their center changed the ball screen coverage just a little bit and left Chris wide open at the top of the key. These guys trust him to make that. He works on it every day. I mean, he made a big one against Kennesaw, made two big ones early in the game against Houston, and had the willingness to take it there. And I just think if you give players like that the trust to make that wasn't the play that we called there, but now all of a sudden your energy level is different. You don't feel like you're hesitant. And I just think that may or may not be the reason he was still juiced and got that tip offensive rebound. He ended with 10, right?
Right.
10 rebounds. So, just wanting guys to go play ball. Basketball's not a game of perfect. And so you just got to be willing to go out there and do what you do.
Joe, tonight it was your night, 4 or 5 from 3, in a game where Friday night everything just kind of fell for you guys, but obviously you're still at a high clip there for you. Talk about your game and leading into this one. Where did you feel that confidence?
I feel like my confidence was the same from the game before. It just goes to our preparation. After practice, most of the teams in there getting extra shots. We're just not being complacent and just continuing to try to keep getting better. And then tonight, it was my night. My teammates were finding me. My coaches and teammates were just giving me confidence.
Javin, do you feel like you noticed any change in what you guys saw defensively, especially trying to go downhill after the night you guys had on Friday against La Tech?
Yeah, they Sam Houston, they did solid on blue in our ball screens, keeping us on the sideline and just kind of packing it in. So yeah, that was different from us. We haven't played much teams like that, so yeah.
And then Sean, for you, it really feels like you've kind of jumped out as a guy that can be the calming facilitator late for this team. We've seen that a few different times in these close games. How are you able to do that, and what's enabled you to bring that presence to this team?
He's old.
I mean, yeah, I got a lot of experience, but just trusting my teammates, knowing that they're going to make the right play. And, like I said earlier, just making the right basketball play, whatever I need to do, whether it's score, pass it, play defense, whatever.
And, Coach, kind of final 11 minutes of the first half felt like it really got away from you guys. I know there was a
We didn't get away. We were tied at halftime, but it wasn't pretty.
14-2 run in the last 5 minutes there. What can you guys kind of work on to take away the streakiness that jumps out sometimes?
Well, I don't think it was so much, and this isn't negative on Sam Houston's part. A lot of it was us. It wasn't that we were messing things up defensively as much as we got a little soft in the way we were running offense and the shots that we were taking. They're one of the fastest playing teams that we've played. And so when you get in there and you're taking wild shots, begging for a foul, and now you're laying on the ground, they're going to get defensive rebounds and race it up the floor. So now you're getting kind of indefensible plays by them. I mean, they're playing at the rim, they're playing downhill, they're playing advantage basketball, and so the paint points at halftime are 18-4. And it wasn't like they were just throwing the ball on the block and going to work with Shaquille O'Neal. They're just driving it and playing out in transition, and a lot of that was just what we were doing. We started running slower offense, our cuts got slow, so now they're blowing things up, and just that was on us. Now, obviously, you got to give them credit. They were making life difficult for us. Offense got harder to run, but that's when you just got to get tougher.
And then looking at the Sam Houston side of the things, Illich had a 16 and 13 double-double, but it felt like it was kind of a quieter performance on that end.
And he's almost like his off nights. I should say his off nights. He can do that quietly, somewhat like Esom did last year. There's some games you look down like, oh, my word, Esom had 20 and 17. You know, last game here he had 30 and 20 or something, and that young man, he's had 16 and 9, 16 and 11, 16 and 12, and 16 and 13 in like his last 4 of his last 5 games. I mean, he's scoring 16 almost every night, but it's been like 9, 11, 12, 13 rebounds over and over, and he just understands positioning. He's not an above-the-rim player. It's one of those guys that you kind of hope that there's a Luka that one day his game can kind of resemble that he's not a high flyer, but has good feel, knows angles, and yeah, he's a good player.
Now you've got the longest road trip ahead for you heading out west. Two different styles, but totally different teams. Kind of what you saw tonight with Sam Houston, a totally different team without Lamar Wilkerson. But how do you prepare? How do you gather from this weekend? Obviously, you got a lot of momentum at 3-0, but you got a tough road trip just for the travel itself.
Yeah.
2 good teams.
Yeah, 2 good teams. It's a great point. You know, you got a long travel, but also we're playing our next 3 games. Those 3 teams are combined 18 and 2 at home coming into today. I don't know what they're doing today or what they've done today, but 3 teams that are combined 18 and 2 at home, and you're traveling across the world to go do it. So the travel in itself is hard. I mean, you guys have traveled somewhere before and you feel like, man, it's going to take me 2 days to recover. Well, we play, and we come back, and the third of those 3 is at La Tech. And so if you don't think that La Tech's going to have a burr in their side from the way the game went down the other night, you got another thing coming. That won't be easy. And so this 3-game stretch is difficult, and that's why it's important we learn from some of the stuff you're talking about during that last 10 minutes of the first half. You better learn from that, or you know, life on the road can get real hard.